Hello, welcome to Leamington Station Model Railway. Hello, welcome back. This week I'm going to do a little bit about track laying the points and the start on the track work on the fiddle board. There's a little bit of a long video this week, but hopefully you enjoy it. I'll pass you over to me a few weeks ago. So here we are, back at the layout. As you can see here, I'm just laying down some copy decks, ready for the cork bed. Just making sure I get a good coating on both sides. I cut the cork strip into these 4mm thick 35mm wide strips. I find it lays quite easily like that. I'm going to leave you with a little bit of music while I finish off laying the rest of this. Now, as you can see, while I copy decks down for the cork, I also copy decks on top of this piece of cork here so I could lay this track. This has already had all the solders dropped on. As you can see, I'm just pulling them through the board there. I do like to leave the copy decks a little bit longer on the cork than what I do on the track. I leave it a little bit less time on the track because then it gives you, like you can see there, you can just move the track around a little bit better if you don't leave it for as long to go as tacky. As you can see, I've already laid and glued the 3 right hand tracks there that are going to be inside the engine shed. That 3-way point and the 2 points there already wired in as well. The track that I've just laid there is also code 75 rail. We're now going to move on to the point. This is an Electrofrog right hand point, medium radius. As you can see there, as the usual way, I'm just laying the cork ready for point to go in. I'm now just measuring up the extra little bit of cork there needed for the point and cutting that out. Obviously I'm using just a little bit of an off cut for this. I'll just do exactly the same way with the copy decks. Just put a little bit in exactly where it's going to be sat. A little bit on the back of the cork. let that sit for a few minutes, and then I'll lay that down. Here we are, moved over to me soldering the point. Now as you can see here, the flux I'm using is Thermopasti Pasta du Lituania is the name of the brand. It's there on screen as you can see. I just dab it a little bit on with a little flux brush that I've got on all the components on the points. We then move on to soldering the cables. Now the solder I use is this Sinel Professional. It's an electronic solder. It is lead free. As you can see, I don't really like to use it on the reel. I sometimes take it off the reel and I just use a little bit in my hand. Admittedly, the reason there is that much is because the reel fell on the floor. As you can see, I'm just filing back the bits where I've cut away the ties between the sleepers to give me a little bit of a rough surface. And then I go in again with the flux. Make sure there's plenty of flux on there. Again, Thermopasti. I do like this flux because it's not liquid and it's not a hard paste. It's like an in-between. And again, this solder, it's a professional's solder, SN99 3CU017 if people understand soldering techniques. I'm not going to go much into different types of solder. I prefer this solder. I've used it for quite a while. It's just quick and easy. As you can see, it does a deal well. It's not cheap though. It's just what I already have available, by the way. I haven't been out and bought this especially. Just because I'm an amateur radioist, I use different bits of solder for different bits of pieces. But there you can see I've got everything soldered up, so now everything's tinned up, sorry. So now we'll go ahead and get all the cables soldered into place. These helping hands are very helpful, very useful for holding bits of cable, bits of wires and stuff like that while you're soldering. I will put a link in the description to these. So here we are. I'm just going to work out which wires go to which side. We'll start with the red one. And as you can see, I am soldering these two wires between the stock rail and the closure rail. Now this just gives you a better connectivity between the two rails and you're not reliant on the switch blades to hold your polarity and for your connectivity. As you can see here, I just pull off, there's two little wires at the end of the closure rails which connect to the frog, which if you just get a little knife, as you can see, they just ping right off. And this just gives you a lot better running along this point. So now we'll take this over to the baseboard and we'll get it fitted. As you can see here, I've already drilled a 10mm hole for the point motor hole, and I've used a 4mm drill bit for the feeder hole and frog hole. I find these holes are adequate for what's needed. I'm using Copydex to glue this down. It's what I've used to glue all my track down with, as you've seen previously. Getting plenty of it on there, making sure to avoid the switch blades. Here you can see I'm just getting a little bit of track that goes in between the points, getting it put in, getting the insulating rail joiners put on, as I will be using DCC and lots of feedback devices. I think the route I've chosen down for my control system is going to be the DR5000. It seems to be the most universal control system. Seems to work with pretty much any manufacturer. So there'll be plenty more videos to come on that. As you can see, we've got that all laid, all glued down. And we're moving on to an Insulfrog Hornby point. As you can see, it's got the DCC clips in already. It is quite an old Hornby Insulfrog point. It's one of the points I got with the very first layout that I previously bought. As you can see, I need to cut these ties out in between the sleepers. The Hornby plastic is a little bit stronger than what it is on the Pico points, which is what the previous point was. But as you can see there's the little bits of plastic that I cut out. So here we are, I'm just applying a bit more flux. Flux is always good. A little bit off camera, I do apologise. There's the flux applied. This is the solder I'm using. It's Sinel Unipress Professional SN99 3CU0.7. I'm not going to go too much into soldering, like I said previously, but it is very good solder. It's not cheap. I'm an amateur radio enthusiast in my other hobby, and it's just what I've had, what I've used for quite a while, for a fair few years. I think I've had this reel for probably about 7 or 8 years, I think. As you can see, it's perfect for this sort of thing, really. My soldering techniques aren't the best, but they work just as good. As you can see, we're getting a good adhesion with the solder onto each rail. And just like with the previous one, I am soldering the stock rail to the closure rail, as again this gives you better running. Even on an Insulfrog point, this still gives you better running. Every single point on my board, on my layout, is going to be fed separately. I think I'm going to use a feedback on each one, but I'm not 100% yet. But we'll see what happens. Again, these helping hands are brilliant for helping you do wires. So when you're soldering, really you want one hand holding the wire, one hand holding the soldering iron, and another one holding the solder. And yeah, you've only got 2 hands yourself, so. The soldering iron I use is a 40-watt Draper soldering station. Bought it off Amazon. I will leave a link in the description for anybody that's interested. If you do have any questions or comments, do leave them in the sections below. If you're not subscribed to the channel, then please do subscribe. I've noticed lately I've had quite a few subscribers come through, which I appreciate very much for all my new subscribers. Just hope my videos are a little bit intuitive about your layouts. And if I can help with anything, I will. As you can see, I've got the black wire soldered on there. I'll just get the red one. This one a little bit easier than the first one did. See there, give it a good tug. Yep, hold in place. And as you can see there, that's a Hornby Insulfrog point, all nice and neatly soldered. Well, as neatly as I could make it. So now we'll move on to a express Hornby point. Now I'm only doing this because there are 3 different types of points out there that I'm using on the layout, so I might as well show you the 3 different ways that I've soldered them. Now on these I've used these little tags at the bottom here. As you can see, I've already cut the ties out previously. Now this was a little bit more difficult to solder, especially on these 2 little tags here. As you can see, the plastic just wanted to melt pretty much straight away. But I did eventually get it on there. Same with that one. And the last one on the stock route. And then we just bring the wires in again. As you can see, there's not much you can do about the little bit of damage that you do to the underside of the point, but as you'll see in a minute, this doesn't really make much difference to the top of the rail. Really good tug. Now we move on to the red wire. Now I don't use my soldering iron on full bore because it is a variable voltage. I only use it on about half power. I use it, what I normally do, to be honest, because I always turn it down and turn it off every time I've finished using it. So I just turn it up until it starts melting the solder. But as you can see here, as you can see from the top, it doesn't look that much. Even though it does look a little bit from the bottom, you can't really tell from the top. It looks quite nice and neat. And once you've got it ballasted, you'll never see it. And if you paint it as well. So now I'm just going to leave you with a little bit of a time lapse of me finishing laying off the rest of the points in this area. And I'll catch you up when I'm finished. Okay, well there we go. I completed the rest of the fiddle yard point work after filming that, and as you can see now, I now have all of the track laid on board 1, all of the point work and the tracks and the droppers soldered in on the fiddle yard throat, and as you can now see, everything is laid ready, and the next stage is the wiring and point motor installation on the board I've just laid. If you've seen my previous videos, you'll also know that this board here is already wired and already has all the point motors installed underneath. Now I just want to mention a little bit about how I have done my code 75 to code 100 transition. I haven't done anything to raise these rails. All I've done is I've let the copy decks even itself out. So when I put something on top, it just leveled itself out. So I'll just hand you over to me at the computer. Well, I hope you enjoyed that. Thanks for watching. If you've enjoyed what you've watched, please hit that subscribe button. Also give the video a thumbs up. YouTube's algorithms love it. And we'll see you in the next video. Bye for now.